the school can tell the DA's office something about this kid and his family, and the DA's office can decide, is this somebody we need to prosecute or somebody who needs the diversion?
It allows that talking amongst all of the groups
That's so important.
of personnel that help to make a big difference in a lot of these kids' lives.
And sometimes the schools don't know about a kid's involvement with the court system.
Right, but now there's an ability to talk amongst them all and get it going. There's an expansion of laws that I'm assuming are going to be coming into play in the future regarding internet crime and bullying and we've already seen internet scams and stuff. What kind of, I mean, does DA prosecute those kinds of cases as well?
Yeah, but they're very specialized cases.
Yeah.
And
do you have specialized units that handle that type, special prosecutors that would handle things like that?
I keep harping on how Middlesex does things, but I think Middlesex District Attorney's office... Well, but that's where
the experience that you've seen. And of course, that's a very large office too, isn't it?
It's one of the largest counties in the country.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of things right. And it's run by a prosecutor. And Jerry Leone, the current district attorney, he established a cybercrime unit at the Middlesex DA's office. And I was one of the prosecutors who worked on those cybercrimes. There's a trained computer forensic expert who is assigned to that unit who can do the searches of the computers. And I know Norfolk County has police departments combined to have a computer crime units that prosecute these crimes. But the DA's office needs to have its own cybercrime unit with prosecutors who are trained and specialized and know how to prosecute all the ones you're just talking about.
Yeah.
Because bullying in schools, it doesn't necessarily need prosecution, but it needs investigation. And the schools need to know about, this is what's going on, this is what was happening on Facebook between these two students, the bullying that was going on. That's what the cybercrime unit can be used to find these text messages, to get the evidence off the computer.
Yeah.
It involves child pornography, it involves enticing. Child predators in 2010 can now get access to your child in your home.
Sure.
And that's a serious crime. It didn't exist 10 years ago, but now they're in your home.
Right.
And there needs to be specialized prosecutors and forensic examiners who know how to prosecute these crimes.
And how do you prosecute there with jurisdiction? Because the jurisdiction, what is the jurisdiction? The jurisdiction of the victim?
It can be either one. It can be where the victim is or where the defendant is. It can be either one.
Because you may be prosecuting a defendant that's in Colorado using his computer on a victim that's in Norfolk County. So
you might.
Does Norfolk County have jurisdiction over that?
The difficulty is getting the person from Colorado to Norfolk County.
Right.
It's much easier for the DA's office in Colorado. Or let's reverse it. If the victim's in Colorado and the Colorado police contact Norfolk County and say, this is what this person did.
Okay, then you prosecute on that end.
Then we prosecute on that end.
Can you prosecute the opposite way that I just spoke of?
You could, but getting the person...
If you had the victim here, you have to get the...
Yeah, the crime committed against the victim is committed where the victim is also. So, yeah, you could prosecute there.
You could prosecute
but
here,
the investigation,
or they could prosecute
the evidence that you're looking for, some of it will be on the victim's computer.
Some of it will be on the...
a lot will be on the perpetrator's computer. So the evidence you're looking for, the perpetrator himself, it's much easier to have the local prosecutor do that.
Yeah.
And you know, I've done a lot of those. They usually lead to child pornography. That somebody in Massachusetts who starts conversing with somebody in another state about sexual matters and wants to meet with them. And I'll give you a hint, a lot of times it's an undercover police officer who's acting as a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
So I've had a fair number of those crimes where that conversation happens with, say, a New Hampshire police officer who's posing as a 14-year-old boy. Who gets enticed by someone in Massachusetts.
Right.
The police officer records all those conversations, sends them down to us, and then we can use that because a lot of times the person will send the boy, the 14-year-old boy, pornography.
Yeah.
And we can use the facts from the out-of-state police officer to get a search warrant for the Massachusetts person's home, search their computer, And a lot of times you find a lot of child pornography, and that
bet.
turns into a child pornography investigation.
Well, our time is running out, believe it or not.
Well, that was fast.
Yes, I know. Can you give our audience an idea of what you have in store with your campaign over the next, what do you have, 82 days?
82 days.
82 days before the preliminary I'm sorry, it's called a primary.
A primary.
Right? Primary.
September 14th is the Democratic
September
primary.
14th is the Democratic primary. What's on your agenda between now and then?
I'm trying to meet with as many groups as I can. When I meet with
And
groups...
how are you doing that? How are you getting out and about? Where are you going to be?
Well, for instance, on Monday, the Sharon Democratic Town Committee meeting is having a meeting, and they've asked for all 3 candidates for DA
Good.
to come there.
Okay.
I'm going to be obviously at that.
Uh-huh.
On Tuesday night, I'm going to be in Brookline at someone's house who's having a neighborhood gathering, inviting neighbors. I've been doing those. I need to do more of those.
Well, you get a meal that way too.
Excuse me?
You get a meal that way too.
Well, I don't get to eat that much. No, I do a lot of talking. But the point is to get the word out there. When I have these meetings, people are very receptive to the idea of a prosecutor, an experienced prosecutor who's done this, being the district attorney. And I tell people, these are my priorities. Child sex offenders need to go to prison. We incarcerate too many drug offenders. We didn't get to talk today about domestic violence, but the DA's office needs to be relentless on domestic violence. Because as you said, that sometimes when they go into a home, they find other problems.
Right.
That's a common one. Domestic violence exists pervasively.
Yeah.
So
true.
if you have the experience, you know how to handle each of those differently, and that's the experience I've had. I also want to tell people that I believe now in term limits. I'm only going to serve 2 terms as district attorney. I will not run for re-election more than once. I'm not looking to have a stepping stone to some other office, so I will not run for any other office while I'm district attorney, and I will not raise campaign cash unless I have an opponent. Right now, there's a DA in Massachusetts who has no opponent, who's running for re-election, and he has $250,000 in his campaign account. I think that's unnecessary. The current DA in Norfolk, he's running for another office. He starts that race with close to $1 million in his campaign account, and he hasn't had an opponent in the last 2 elections.
I can't even imagine why people contribute to a person who has no opponents in a race, but that's a matter.